Yeah, it's certainly been good with the organic side of it. It was a new challenge, and growing such a big variety of crops, there's a lot of different strategies and management you need for the different crops, but it all needs thought and planning, but we've got a really good crew.
This is The Producers. I'm Dani Valent. Maurie Cafra owns Cafresco Organics in Koo Wee Rup, a South Gippsland region remarkable for its black soil and suitability for growing food. Maurie grew up on the farm and still lives here, so in some ways things have stayed remarkably consistent. In other ways, a lot has changed. Maurie went against the grain and transitioned to organic farming, becoming certified in 1997. As he tells us, he didn't get pats on the back from his neighbours, but the proof is in his viable business and the increasing biodiversity on his farm.
Hello, my name's Maurie Cafra. I'm an organic vegetable farm in Koo Wee Rup, and we trade as Cafresco Organics. We're about 60 or 70 kilometres south-east of Melbourne at the top of Western Port Bay. We grow a big variety of vegetables. Onions and asparagus are probably the main two, but there's about 25 different ones. I could rattle them all off, but it might bore you. We grow broccoli, collies, capsicum, eggplant, beans, lots of things. It's a heavy black friable clay. We're at sea level, we're about 30 metres above sea level, so it's reclaimed swampland. Used to be known as the impenetrable swamp many years ago. And since, over the last 100 or more years, there's been a lot of drainage happen because it's flat and water and clay soil. The water's very slow to get away. So it's very important that the excess water drains away.
Maurie's parents moved from Italy before World War II and started growing potatoes, carrots and onions here in the 1950s. Cesare and Salvatrice Cafra hoped to smooth a path to a profession for their Australian-born son. But there was something about farm life that drew Maurie back. Desk work and city life was never going to cut it.
History, family bought where we are. Well, the main farm, we've added to it in 1952. So, my parents were Italian immigrants before the Second World War. I went off to boarding school for 5 years of secondary school, and parents were very keen to get me to learn, become get some sort of profession, because they, being new immigrants to Australia had limited opportunities and, didn't have qualifications and limited language skills. So they were keen for me to do something else, but nothing appealed to me. And so I decided to give the farming a go. Yeah, well, there's two houses on the farm. We live on where I grew up. We moved out of there for a bit to another house, and then subsequently we've renovated this house, and I'm actually living where I grew up. So I haven't gone very far. Well, it's good. It's sort of close enough to Melbourne and to things that brings, and far enough away that there's a bit of open space, and it's sort of rural, semi-rural, I suppose you'd call it.
Maurie stuck to the path his parents forged in terms of location and career, but he also diverged hugely from conventional farming. Using his own observations about soil degradation with chemical inputs, he learnt more about beneficial insects, crop rotation, and taking organic produce to market.
We're organic. We do we make all our own compost on farm. We use cover crops or green manure crops extensively, and we rotate different families of crops. So, capsicums, for instance, and eggplant, tomatoes are in the Solatiae family, so we keep them together 1 year and then we shift them somewhere else where there might have been brassicas, which is broccoli, collie, cabbage. So yeah, we have 5 different groups of vegetables that we swap around to minimise weed and disease possibilities. Oh, look, I just didn't like using poisons, and it seemed to create more problems than it fixed. So we played around with growing things without synthetic fertilisers, and chemicals seemed to be okay. And plus, the prices for organic produce was quite attractive, so we took the plunge. Oh well, the ground was really difficult to manage with synthetic fertilisers, so it wasn't helping, the biology in the soil much. And that was one of the first things that we noticed. Well, it took a little while, but certainly the soil structures seemed to improve. The ground was a bit easier to work, after we'd been organic for a little while. So that was a real plus, and plus things were happening. We got help from entomologists to point out what things were happening in the insect world, and that seemed good. It was surprising how many beneficials were there, and if you don't spray, how they can get established and help control pest insects. So yeah, it was all a learning curve, and while we're still learning, you never know everything. It's been really good. Certainly hard with other farmers. Farmers are very conservative lot and don't take to change very well. So yeah, there's a lot of. I wasn't getting many pats on the back from neighbours and family while I was sort of allowed to do my own thing on the farming side of it, so that wasn't too bad. But of course, you got to come up with the goods. You got to be profitable. So that was always, in the back of my mind, that got bills to pay and wasn't sure if it'd work, something new, but probably fluked a few things and we're still doing it.
Asparagus needs to pop up out of the soil before it can pop up at the market. What is the life cycle and particular challenges of this most curious vegetable?
Yes, well, asparagus likes our deep clay soil. It's a nice climate. We'll often get a sea breeze off Western Port Bay, hot afternoon. Just takes the edge off it and just seems to grow really well here. It's a very fertile soil. And then, beneath the soil there's a clay, and once the roots are in the clay, there's no irrigation, which is a huge plus for asparagus. Just seems to do well. It's a bit difficult when it's wet. It's very slow to shed excess water, so it's very hard for the asparagus cutters to negotiate, the rows. It certainly grows very well here. So you start off with a seed and it grows into what we call a crown. It generally grows in intense area for a year, and then you dig up the crown and plant it out where it's going to go, about 300 mil apart. And then you've got all that next season, there's no harvest, and the one after a month, one after that 2 months, and then after that 3 months. So yeah, it's a long time to wait. It's a little bit like an orchard. You don't get, a yield straight away, but you still have to maintain the crop. And for us, we're weeding mechanically and by hand, so it can be quite expensive before you get up to harvest point. And then, potentially you've got it forever, but it gets, after about 8 or 10 years, a plant gets, the asparagus get a bit thinner, so that's not that economic to harvest. So you tend to, in the meantime, plant another block, and then when they're young, they're nice and fat, and they're easier to harvest and less expensive to harvest. So it's generally the crop is dormant in the winter. It breaks dormancy late winter, early spring, and that's the traditional time of harvesting. And then in the summer and autumn is its time to go to fern and build up its reserves for the following year. Well, generally you want a warm early spring, which we got this year. So the soil warms up quickly, which is what you want, and then your harvest is off and running. If it's cold and wet and miserable, the asparagus are pretty the same way. They're pretty slow, so you don't get a lot of asparagus, and you've still got to walk all that area, or your cutters have to walk all the area, so it's quite expensive to harvest when there's not many. So, yeah, when the numbers are up, it's good. And also this year, it's with the cooler October now, it actually slows. They can grow too fast, so it slows them down a little bit and makes the quantities we've got a bit more manageable. But certainly this year has been good, and we've had enough rain at the right time to keep things ticking along. We generally sell to organic wholesalers, so we're generally on the phone. Brian, who looks after that, it's on the phone and working out, trying to haggle with price and quantities, and deals with that. And we also direct supplies to Coles, and we also supply other shops. So yeah, we've got quite a wide range of clientele that we're just dealing with on the phone. We get carriers in to deliver it, or some of the shops come to us.
Alliums are an important crop to the Cafras, but they're also a bit tricky. Luckily, Maurie knows his onions.
Well, probably onions are main or second main crop. Onions, a lot of issues with keeping them weed free because they don't actually form a canopy to shade out the weeds like a lot of other crops. So yeah, there's a number of strategies to try and keep the weeds or to get rid of the weeds. And they're a very slow grower. They're 6 months in the ground. So we're generally doing something with onions. And we start sowing in April and don't finish till September. And then our harvest is from sort of December to April. So yeah, they take up a lot of energy.
When you're growing 25 vegetables, there's not exactly a typical day. Maurie talks through the different tasks that might be happening on the farm.
Well, today we're harvesting cauliflower, baby broccoli, cabbages, broad beans and artichokes. There's no planting today. We do have some capsicums coming later in the week, so they'll have to be transplanted when they get here and watered. But we've got the ground ready for that. So I've got a crew that does cultivation and adding compost in preparation for future sowing. So we need to be ahead a little bit of the sowing and planting with cultivations, make sure we've got ground ready and not ground takes a while to get ready. So yeah, there's a few things going on, and we're packing. The packing shed's is working today as well. So we'll be dispatching produce. We dispatched a lot on the weekend for market today. Big markets are Mondays and Thursdays. So yeah, a bit going on.
Labour is often a challenge for agricultural businesses in Australia. Maurie talks about his mix of local Gippslanders and Pacific Island workers.
We get up to about 40 in the busy time. We have mainly local people help us. We also have a group of Pacific workers from Vanuatu, and they stay here generally for 9 months, so they stay on the farm. So it's good to have them here. If there's a quick job I need done, I can grab them and do it. And they're very happy, friendly group of people to have around. So yeah, it's a 9-month stint, so we might have one group for 9 months, and then they skip the next 9 months, and that sort of rotates a little bit. So they're not here for too long. That's even 9 months might be a bit long, but at least they're back home, for quite a while. And of course, they're here to make money to do things back at home, maybe build a home or educate their kids. So they shouldn't. I don't believe they should be here for too long. Their families are back at home. That's where their life is. Yeah, it's been really good, and like I said, they're really happy and really good workers. They've all grown up with growing their food back at home. So, yeah, they're really good with farm work here.
Maurie's kids aren't looking like they'll take over the farm, but he knows plenty of young farmers in the area and is confident his land will continue to grow food and offer a good living. He shares advice for those thinking about a life on the land.
Well, look, it can be really fulfilling, and there's a lot of pitfalls, but also they should ask for help. People that have farmed in the area, even if they want to be organic, and they just talk to other farmers. A lot of the time that, management is similar, and soil needs different means of management as well. So, just to ask questions and keep the vision, keep it works. It's you can grow food without, putting poison on it. So, yeah, give it a go. But yeah, I just encourage people want to give it a go is to stick at it. There'll be some pitfalls and some failures, but you just got to stick at it, and it can work.
Maurie Cafra's day might be taken up with planning, planting, troubleshooting, harvesting, or the dreaded bookwork. What is it that he loves about what he does?
Just seeing things grow. I don't like looking at the books too much. It's a bit stressful at times, but yes, seeing things grow and what's happening, and also, harvesting our own produce for our own family. So and knowing that there's no poison being put on it. Well, I've been doing this for a while, so I'm getting a little bit tired, but that would have been with anything. So, yeah, it's certainly been good with the organic side of it. It was a new challenge for us, and it was good. You've got to thinking ahead. There's a lot of things you've got to consider, and growing such a big variety of crops, there's a lot of different strategies and management you need for the different crops, but it all needs thought and planning. But we've got a really good crew, so a lot of times they're ahead of me and saying, we need to do this or that, or that's coming up, or so. Yeah, it's been really good having good people around me. In terms of the farm, proud that we've given it a go and had a degree of success in and there's a lot of scepticism, and my own scepticism at the time, not knowing what the outcome would be, and had young family and bills to pay. So we've managed to keep our head above water financially. Yeah.
Koo Wee Rup is famous for asparagus, and this part of South Gippsland is generally regarded as a rich agricultural region. Maurie Cafra isn't just absorbing the bounty of the land for his own family farm. He's also using composting, crop rotation, and other plantings to improve soil health and the biodiversity of his local area. The vegetables are good, but what Maurie is putting back is just as important as what he's harvesting. This is The Producers, a Deep in the Weeds production. I'm Dani Valent. Stay tuned as we talk to some of Australia's best farmers, makers and growers. Follow us on Instagram at Producers Podcast or contact us via deepintheweeds.com.au.